All right, we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody out. It's great to have a great crowd. I think we've got a few more that'll be straggling in here in a minute. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Keith Coppedge. I've been here at the Golf Club of Dallas for the last a little over 9 years. And when I first got here, we started as a private club, and we were private up until 2012. At that time, the club came under new ownership, and we switched to a semi-private facility, and we started marketing to public rounds. And so to do that in the best way that we thought possible, we jumped on with Golf Now, Golf 18 Network, and others. And quickly we found out that the way that those companies operate with the trade was not something that we wanted to participate in, and the frustrations that we had with them led me to start Purpose Golf as a solution, because I didn't see a way out with a company that didn't operate with trade. So I wanted to create a company that would allow courses to have complete ownership of their tee times and complete control of their pricing without charging them an arm and a leg. So that led to the start of Purpose Golf. That was over 3 years ago. We're in the start of our 4th year now. And I'm happy to say we've booked over $750,000 through the platform, and no charge to the golf course. And that's something I look to really grow as we keep moving forward. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. It's great to have an awesome crowd. The support that you show me for being here is huge. Obviously, the more people here, the better this event will be and the more productive we can be. So first of all, I'd like to thank y'all for being here. And I'd like to thank those of you that are in the audience that are partners with me, that have worked with me over the last few years. Having your facilities on board with me is huge. It helps me to continue to grow and offer a viable product for you. I'd like to say thank you to Mark Harrison for being here. We're going to have a conversation here in a minute about our partnership, what it means moving forward. I know he has a busy schedule, so thank you, Mark, for making time for us. And then I'd like to say thank you to our panel members over here. We have Rob Hoffman with Gallus Golf. He is our presenting sponsor today. We have Mike Ratchman with the Texas Golf Insider. We have Tom Robshaw with Club Profit Systems. And we have Hunter Taylor with Backswing Marketing. So everybody but Hunter is not local, so they've all traveled in as far as Pittsburgh, and San Diego, and San Antonio. So really big thank you to those gentlemen for making the trip in to be here to speak with everybody today. Last year, we had 4 PGA professionals on the board really discussing the dangers of trade and why they have made the decision with their facility to move away, as well as a national board member discussing the national perspective on trade and what national is doing to help facilities out. This year we'd like to continue that conversation, but I'd like to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about what are the steps that, if you decide that trade is something you don't want at your facility anymore, how do you move on from that? What steps do you take to still succeed in the marketplace that is heavily marketed with trade? So how do we succeed once we get away from trade, and how do we continue on down that road? So that's what we have these vendors here for as well, to discuss that. And it's going to be a great day. We had a lot of audience interaction last year, and we want to continue that this year. So if you have something at any point during the discussion that you'd like to add, we want to hear from you. So just raise your hand or come on down and we can get you a mic. That way, we're not really using speakers today, but it's going to be recorded and sent out to the section. So just if you could come on down and get on the mic, that would be huge as well. So that's all I have to open. I'd like to give Mr. Rob Hoffman a few minutes to speak as our presenting sponsor today, and then we'll start our discussion with Mr. Harrison. Mr. Hoffman.
Great. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, everybody. I don't want to take a whole lot of your time here this morning. I know Keith has me slated for about 10 minutes this morning, but I know I want to make this day about you guys and about what's important to you and your facilities And first of all, I really want to commend you for being here. It's fun for me in the industry that I work in, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a second. To be with people that are more forward-thinking. The fact that you're here means that you're a little bit more forward-thinking to me and looking to possibly get away from trade and move into something that becomes a more stable, more lucrative way of doing business. Gallus Golf, what we do is we provide you a tool and then also means through some other things that we work on to give you compelling reasons, give your customers compelling reasons to deal directly with you. And that's one of the things I want you to keep in mind when we're talking about all these different things today. To me, the absolute key in anything we talk about today is will this or will this not be a compelling reason for your customers to work directly with you, whether that's booking tee times, whether that's becoming a member, whatever the case may be. One thing to keep in mind is a lot of times we're talking about golf now. They're the biggest ones out there in the trade world, and they are providing compelling reasons for customers to do business with them. Most golfers don't understand that that compelling reason is damaging the golf course they love to go golf at. And what it behooves you as the golf course operator, owner, general manager, whatever role you may play with the course, is to get in the mind of your customer, create that compelling reason. We're not talking about compelling reasons. I'm not talking about selling your tee times for $12. I'm talking about reasons that your customers can feel connected to your golf course. Reasons that when they have that connection, you now own that connection and are able to utilize that over and over and over again to cement the connection and use it to your advantage. Not in a bad way, in a very good way. Everybody wins in these scenarios. The customers win, you win, and that's what we want to talk about. Gallus Golf, so you're aware, what we do is we do provide a custom branded mobile app. Keith has one here at the Golf Club of Dallas. When I pulled up this morning, I got a little geofence message saying, "Welcome to the Golf Club of Dallas. Enjoy your day here." Something along those lines is what it said on their app. I'm not here though today to necessarily sell you an app. If that's something that you guys would like to get somewhere in the future, I should probably put you in touch with my sales team. I don't like the whole sales end of it. I was just telling Mike about that now. But I want to talk to you about how this is a reason to get you from point A to point B and away from some of those trade rounds. And I really look forward to a lot of the questions you have today. Again, thanks for coming out, and good on you for being here and looking into some of these things. Keith?
Thank you, Rob. So we'll go ahead and get Mr. Harrison on stage, and we'll have our conversation. Well, mate, thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. Good morning.
Glad
Welcome,
to have you.
everybody. Good, great to see everybody. Happy New Year. And welcome to the Golf Club of Dallas. Great to see everybody. I was able to chat with a few folks this morning. Again, just welcome. I'm happy to be here and excited to chat a little bit about the topic today.
So, one of the reasons we wanted to have this conference with Mark as well is last summer I presented to the Northern Texas PGA Board of Directors. Mark was kind enough to get me a slot in one of their meetings, and I presented a partnership opportunity between myself and the section. So for the last 2 years, I've been a sponsor. So the first year I was a sponsor of the Pro Assistant that we had at Stonebriar, and then last year I was a sponsor of the Junior Tour. And so that was a total of $5,000 sponsorship combined. And so I wanted to discuss if we could continue that sponsorship moving forward. For 3 years, it'd be a combined $20,000 minimum moving forward, so all together. And so I wanted to present to the board if we could make this sponsorship work, if it's something that the board would want to move on. And so the board agreed that the sponsorship was something that they wanted to partner with me on. And so that's what we're really here to discuss, of what the details are of that and what it's going to look like moving forward for that partnership.
Yeah, I do. So typically in a board setting, and Ronnie could relate to this, Philip could relate to it, we don't have outside folks come in and present and chat. It's just something that is usually vetted by the staff, and then we present whatever the topic might be that the board is talking about. But with Keith, I didn't really feel like I could do the topic enough justice or well enough. So as a member, I invited Keith to come in with the board's approval and chat. He did a wonderful job in that setting. And it's not about the sponsorship. I'll be perfectly frank with you. It's not about the sponsorship, although we sincerely do appreciate your support. It's about the topic. And it's a topic that's obviously been on the forefront of everybody's mind for a long time. And I just think it's something that we can do collectively a little bit better from a section standpoint related to trying to educate our members, our PGA members, some of whom are owner-operators, but many of those who are responsible for the day-to-day business at their facilities, just what options might be out there. So the sponsorship is great, and again, thank you for that, but it's more about hopefully educating the member and just allowing them to make the best decision possible for their business.
So let's talk a little bit about what everyone can expect to see moving forward in terms of what the section is going to, how the section is going to play into helping promote the platform, the Golf North Texas platform.
Yeah, sure. So we saw an announcement of obviously this seminar. I think it's a fantastic turnout. I'm glad you're here. So there was an announcement in Tony's newsletter, our president's newsletter, about the new partnership. I think what else you'll see is Keith and his company will be a presenting sponsor, more than likely the Pro Assistant, just with the timing of the year. We'll also continue to support our junior tour, but we hope to tie Purpose Golf into some educational opportunities later on this year as well, maybe dovetailing with some PGA Junior League golf opportunities and things like that. Also, likely you'll see a letter that will go out from either me and Keith, or maybe it's Paul Ernest, assuming he's elected as president, myself and Keith, but really just trying to educate the consumer on why we're partnering with Keith and his business, and again, just trying to educate the member more on why we decided to sort of enhance our partnership with you. Sure.
So we talked a little bit about this earlier. The national board rolled out an education program last year about online revenue management courses. I'm sure many of you saw that. I'm sure hopefully many of you took that course and got that education. Was that a response to how companies like GolfNow are operating, from feedback from members, or do you know the motivation behind that, or can you speak to maybe National's mindset about that education?
Yeah, I don't know if it's specifically related to GolfNow, so I can't speak to National's mindset per se, but I was in some committee meetings this past week with the PGA of America's committees. I serve on the education committee, and Pete Pavakwa, the CEO, made a couple of opening comments, and one of the things that he did specifically mention was that he felt like the association, or the PGA of America, missed several opportunities. One of the opportunities he mentioned was perhaps doing something similar to the first tee. Another opportunity that he mentioned was this whole online tee time platform that the PGA of America wasn't ahead of the curve on that one. So to answer your question, I think probably it was more along the lines of hopefully allowing our PGA members an opportunity to complete the information and provide them tangible resources and data to show their owner or operator or management group or city or whoever they might report to of some of the programs and services that they do that enhance the revenue and obviously the benefit of having a PGA member employed at the facility. So I can't speak to whether or not it was in response to some of the trade tee time related I would say challenges, more probably trying to provide the PGA member an opportunity to outline his or her value to their owners.
We're all very fortunate to be part of this section. It does such a great job providing support to its members. I think that's a testament to you and your team, for sure. From employment to education, player development, and obviously junior golf. We hear it all the time, but really we probably the best section in the entire country. Is it part of the section's role to support not only just the member, but the courses they work at? Can you speak to that a little bit? Is that even part of the section's responsibility or part of their mission?
Yeah, good question. Our mission is really simple: to serve the member and grow the game. And pretty much whatever we do needs to do one of those two things. It needs to serve the PGA member, or it needs to hopefully grow the game. And we grow the game primarily through our Junior Golf Foundation. So, and it's that simple. The board looks at it really hard, take a deep dive at what we do each and every year. I think this past year we had 32 strategic objectives that the board wanted to try and accomplish. I see these business plans for other sections around the country, and they're 50 or 60 pages long. And I don't know about you all, but I'm not going to read something that's 50 or 60 pages long. Our business plan's 2 pages, and it's just bullet points. They're strategic objectives. It allows us something to focus on. It's tangible, it's measurable. It allows us to provide feedback to our members, our board of directors, on how we're doing. But to answer your question, serve the member and grow the game. If everything that we do really needs to do one of those two things. So it's not necessarily about serving the owners or the management groups. It's more about providing services and benefits to the member themselves. Sure.
Have you seen a change? Now, you've been director for 5 years now?
Started in 2011, so I guess we're going on 7.
Yeah, 7 years now. Have you seen, personally, I know through our conversation you've been doing a lot more research on this topic to educate yourself. Have you seen a tangible change from maybe where public courses were in 11 to where they are now?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. I think there are more options out there, and people are getting more and more educated with the inherent challenges with trade, tee times. So yeah, I've seen a change for sure. I think probably the most important thing is that those that own and operate, or you report to an owner, or whoever it is that you might report to, you've got to evaluate all the options out there. And you might choose to use Keith's platform, you may choose to use one of these other platforms, but most importantly, I think from where I sit, is you've got to own your own customer. You just have to own your own customer, and you've got to work out a way to do that. And what I mean by that is gathering their data. You just have to be able to know who your customer is. And if you're not gathering their data, you're way missing the boat. And you also need to provide, I would say, an experience for those that are visiting your facility that is going to hopefully encourage them to come back. So whether it's the golf course conditioning, the playability, whoever it is that's greeting them in the golf shop, maybe it's the player development programs that you offer. But I just think you need to, every customer is gold. They truly are gold, and you need to work out a way to embrace them, welcome them, and hopefully encourage them to come back. And I think if I were in your shoes and I owned a facility, or I operated a facility, I'd look at dynamic pricing, sort of maybe fluctuating the pricing, perhaps maybe even a little bit more than the golf business typically does. I know we do that with our junior tour. For example, we charge our customers more in the spring and the fall when we're playing on the weekends, when we're being charged more by our facilities to play. So we fluctuate the pricing of our programming for our kids a whole lot more than perhaps you would know. So dynamic pricing is something I would look at. Certainly, I was out in Lubbock yesterday for the West Texas chapter board meeting, and they've got their annual meeting today, and I flew on Southwest Airlines. So I was out yesterday, arrived there at 3 o'clock, and plane was delayed, came back at 10:30 last night. But when I Googled, or when I was searching airline prices, I couldn't find Southwest anywhere. It's not coming up on Priceline or Expedia or anything like that. The only way I'm going to find a price to Fly on Southwest is being driven to their website. And so they've sort of worked it out, and they worked it out way ahead of the game. But sort of to my point about fluctuating rates and things like that, if I travel the day before Christmas, obviously I'm going to pay a premium. If I travel on Christmas Day, I'm going to pay less. And I think, you know, dynamic pricing and how you structure your pricing at your facilities, maybe even look at it a little bit more. If you know on Friday it's going to be 75 degrees on January the 15th, and we know it's going to be that, charge more. You know, if next Friday it's going to be 42 degrees on a Friday and rain, charge less. But I would look at how you structure your pricing, but most importantly, just treat your customers like gold. You have to treat them like gold, and you have to look at ways to drive them to your tools, your website, and in the hopes they'll come back.
Yeah, you make a great point with the dynamic pricing and really trying to evaluate how you're marketing to the customer. If you're going to dynamic price, you have to have control of your pricing. You have to have ownership of that low price. It's hard to raise the rate when you've got a trade time operator running the rate all the way down to as low as they can get it to sell it, right? So if you look at your packets that you grabbed when you came in, if you look at the very back page, it's a quick way of how Golf Now markets their hot deals. Just about every month, I could have done a packet just on these advertisements, but you'll see all these hot deal advertisements. I encourage you to sign up for their email list. Go to Golf Now and sign up for their email list and see how they're really marketing. About 57, 58% of the emails they send out are hot deals only. And so a lot of the times you'll see these hot deal coupons even. So I think I sent one out for, during Christmas time, it was 3-for-1 hot deals. So if it's a $15 time at your facility, that's, instead of being $15 a golfer, that's now $15 for the entire group. So everybody's playing for less than $5. And that gets really tough if you want to try and, if it's a sunny day like we had right before Christmas, I think it was a Thursday or Friday, and we were slammed. We did about 120 golfers. Well, if Golf Now is offering $15 that day, it's going to be really tough to raise the rate and take advantage of a day like that this time of year. So it's really important to have complete control of your pricing and ownership of all your time. So I think that's a really good point to make there.
Yeah, you make a great point, and it's I guess it's why we're here today. But when the whole third-party tee time piece came in the marketplace, and it's been quite a while. I did some research on it, and I didn't realize this, but there were two folks in Houston who started Golf Now, and it was 1999, so almost 20 years. And at least the research that I saw is they couldn't make it go. So in 2001, they were purchased by a group out of Arizona, and in 2008, that group had grown, but they hadn't grown anywhere to where they were now. In 2008, they were purchased by the Golf Channel, and that's when it really, really took off. And that's probably about the time that I became more aware of it, because obviously you saw it advertised everywhere. And I thought initially, it was going to be a good thing. You know, it was going to afford golfers an opportunity to maybe, get maybe a little bit more aggressive pricing, but more importantly, allow facilities to fill tee times that were going unused typically. So I thought initially it was going to be a good thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing. It's just something that I think as owner-operators, you all need to evaluate the tools that you use to market and promote to your customers. But it's just that the history there was pretty interesting. And I'll just, while I've got you here for a sec, so I was reading an article on the way home last night, and it was a really, really good article, and I asked Keith if he had seen it, but it was written in 2003. So 5 years before Golf Now purchased this third-party tee time providing company. And it was written by a guy who had interviewed a bunch of golf course owners. And essentially, they said, this again, 2003, that they were concerned that third-party tee time providers was going to erode rate integrity. devalue a product that is costly to design, to build, to maintain, and to operate. And then they also said in this article that left unchecked, they would argue that third-party tee time providers would cause irreversible harm to the industry. This was written in 2003. These folks were way ahead of their time. And it wasn't until 2015 that the National Golf Course Owners Association came out with a set of guidelines to sort of help owner-operators protect themselves from these third-party tee times. So again, these folks were talking about it in 2003. I hadn't heard about it in 2003, but I sure had heard about it in 2008. Yet it took until 2013 or 2015 for those that sort of represent the small golf course owners around the country to react. And the PGA of America endorsed this set of guidelines. I'd be curious, Keith, what, as somebody that has done a lot of research on this, what are you seeing? These third-party tee times providers, are they following the rules? How does it work? What are you seeing?
So when the Tee Time Coalition was created between PGA of America and the NGCOA, they released these guidelines, and I think they had released a very similar set of guidelines a couple of years before. All of the main players in the industry, Golf Now, teeoff.com, Course Trends back then, they're now owned by Teeoff. They all, of course, said we agree with these guidelines and we're going to operate by them, but I think many of you could probably attest to they don't exactly follow them to a T, and that's what the Tee Time Coalition was created for. It's almost to be, I guess, a watchdog, if you will, so people can call in and say, hey, this company is doing this company is doing this, and they can sort of investigate it and report back, but they can't really enforce it. The enforcing comes down to you and what you're going to do at your facilities, whether you want to have an operator that truly works by these guidelines, because those guidelines are very good. If you take those 10 guidelines and apply them to your facility, you do very well in selecting a vendor. Now, whether they follow them or not, I was having a conversation just a second ago about one of their providers. They were having disputes about whether they could sell trade on their website or not, and they didn't want it on their website. And so the provider decided to take all of their own, like the golf course's own times, and only took them off the website and only posted the hot deals, or this actually wasn't Golf Now, surprisingly. Only the trade times were available to purchase. So if you went to the site and you wanted to play this golf course, only the trade time was available. They had 2 trade times a day, so it looked like only 2 tee times were available online, and they didn't own either one of them. That is not within the guidelines, I can promise you. And that's not very uncommon, because I've seen that many, many times. So when I call on one of your courses, I go to your site, I kind of learn what you're doing, what you're using, and I see that all the time. I see it all the time. They completely take advantage and they say, oh, I'm sorry, it was a glitch, or I'm sorry, it won't happen again. They sort of apologize first and ask permission later attitude. So it's disappointing, and it's part of the reason you've got so many people that are frustrated with the way they operate, and so many people looking for a better option of how to run their golf course.
Can you use both? Could you use your platform? Could you use some competitors' platforms?
You can, yeah, of course you can use whatever you want to use. Now there's some companies like Club Profit Systems. They don't allow integration with Golf Now. The point of sale is really the key. Everybody knows that's the hub of the pro shop and the way you operate. So the point of sale is probably the biggest component as to whether they're going to allow integration or not. And I'll let Tom speak to that later, because I know they had a very serious breakup with Golf Now a few years ago, and I'll let him speak to the benefits that's had for his company and his customers. But you certainly can use both. Obviously I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend any sort of trade. If you want to use a company, pay them if you're going to use their service. Don't
don't trade, because once they hit trade, you've lost it. You've lost your ownership of your tee times. You've lost the lowest price available. Your customer loyalty goes out the window. You have no integrity on your pricing. It's just, there's so many things that start to slide off once you start trading. And it's scary when you think about getting away, because golf now is obviously the 800-pound gorilla. We've been off for 3 years now. I know many other courses that have gotten off and are doing very well, a few of them in this room right now. It's just being able to take the move, get away from it, and really see that you can flourish without it, and you can continue to grow without it.
How about, what is the realistic threat of trading arms? If you were to sum it up in a couple of sentences, what is the realistic threat or the actual threat that we're seeing?
Customer loyalty and price integrity. There's only so many rounds of golf that are going to be played in this section every single year. We've got to get every dollar that we can. The only thing getting cheaper in this world, it seems to be, is green fees. I don't think your fertilizer's getting any cheaper, your labor's not getting any cheaper, your utility bills aren't getting cheaper, but your green fees seem to be going down. I haven't seen a study of average green fee. That'd be a great study to have. But I guarantee you it's gone down in the last 5 or 10 years. It's so hard to get people to pay full rack rates. We kind of joke about it. If you get full rack rate, and someone doesn't, almost complain about it. Almost every time someone comes in, well, you have any coupons? Well, I've got this coupon, I've got that coupon. Or do you have any deals that I can get? Because they're so trained to do it, why wouldn't they be? Every single tee time that the majority of these people are booking are either going to be hot deals. There's hot deal only customers, everybody sees them. You've all traded them if you have hot deals. So that to me is the biggest threat, is the golfer is now trained to never pay full price. And that's pretty detrimental to your bottom line. And that's what we've really focused on here at Golf Club of Dallas, is trying to get a higher rate per golfer. And we've gone from, just on the online booking, we've gone from $38 the first year we started, got away from Golf Now. We're up to just over $45 a round that's booked online. That's a huge difference. Even if your rounds stay flat, your dollar per round is going up. It's a huge benefit, and it can't be understated. So customer loyalty and price integrity, I'd say, would be your two biggest threats.
Do you offer, if somebody were to call in, if I were to call in wanting to play here, do you offer that rate over the telephone, or do you drive them to your website? The best rate, can I get the best rate over the phone, or are you sending them to your website?
We do very little discounting on our site. If we have a slow day, we'll send out a special that, hey, it's $25 for the day, but you got to book it online, because we want to promote people to go online. If somebody comes in and says, hey, I saw your email, we're not going to give them the 10th degree that they have to go online. We're going to honor it. But we certainly do push people to book online. We want them to know, a lot of our marketing is you can get the best rate at our facility online. And we call them our own hot deals, but we own them. And so we discount them to whatever we want them to be, but it's not going to be $15. It's going to be 15% off or 20% off, not 70, 80% off. So yeah, we certainly push people online. We do discount on there, but it's not very rampant.
Can you tell people why you push them online?
Well, it's more convenient for us. Obviously, it's easier to not take a phone call. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you get customer information instantly. We get zip code, email, phone number every time they book, instead of having to have a sheet at your counter or ask those people. That's a time-consuming process if you had to do that with every customer that walked through your door. So they're doing that for you, and it's really helped grow our database significantly. Booking online.
I don't necessarily have any other questions for you, Keith. I'm not sure if anybody in the audience has questions, but I would say that from my seat, from where I sit, I think the numbers don't lie. So whatever data you're gathering, you need to analyze them. And if it makes sense for you to use a third-party tee time, then go for it. If it doesn't make sense for you, then don't. You've got to find another opportunity or another way to provide a service to your customer. But the numbers don't lie. And I'd also say you just need to be willing to adapt and change. Don't just always do the same. It's easy to do the same, I would imagine, Keith. And I would, lastly, I'd like to say I applaud Keith. I truly do for what he's done and what he's trying to provide a solution for the marketplace. And the marketplace at the moment for Keith's company is only DFW or North Texas. But I truly do applaud you. You got ahead of the curve. You saw the challenges that were being generated, and you worked to find a solution. So I really do. I think you've done a wonderful job. That's part of why the section and our board wanted to partner with Keith, just to provide our PGA members just another option. And it's totally up to you all to whether or not you choose to use them or other providers, or maybe down the way there's something else that maybe the section may offer. And Keith and I chatted about a couple of things this morning that perhaps collectively as a membership we could get behind as another way to maybe provide an opportunity for you to drive rounds and revenue to your facilities.
Thank you, Mark, for those kind words. I'd like to say, well, I've still got you up here. You know, when I first started Purpose Golf, it was important for me to have an aspect of it to give back, and we've always wanted to support the section. It's kind of been an obvious choice for me to support junior golf through the section. I grew up in the section playing those junior golf tournaments, and those are probably the reason I'm sitting here today as a PGA member and as a member of the section. And so it was always important to give back, and it was really important for me to work on the section and to get their support moving forward. So I'm very appreciative to have you on board and helping me with my cause. And just thank you for your time today. I'd like to touch on one last thing. I did send an email out, I think Friday, with a trade time calculator, cost calculator on there. I don't know if anybody took the test, but I think if you take the time, it takes about 1 minute. And it's so important to truly understand what these trade times cost, because you'll be sold that it's a time that doesn't really matter. You weren't going to sell anyway. It's basically free, is what they want you to believe. But there's a real opportunity cost there. If that golfer's playing your facility, you could have gotten them yourself, and you could have gotten that revenue. So there's an opportunity cost to that trade time. And so being able to put a number on what that's costing you versus what they're bringing you in return, and seeing, is this really worth it, is really important. And like Mark said, the numbers don't lie. So if that number works for you, then that's great. But a lot of courses are going to see that it's not quite all roses like they want you to believe. Even if they're bringing in significant amounts of money, they're probably taking a significant amount as well. So if you hadn't taken that, I encourage you to go spend 1 minute and take that test and just kind of see what it means for your facility.
I think probably the last thing that I would say is if I were sitting in your seat and I was an owner-operator, and if my facility was in Las Vegas, or if it was in Myrtle Beach, if it was in Orlando, and they were destination cities, I would probably look pretty closely to Golf Now and other providers, because people are flying in and they're looking for a place to play. Dallas-Fort Worth is not a destination city for golf. As much as we would like it to be, it's not. So I don't know what the number is, but the vast majority of the people that play golf in Dallas-Fort Worth are probably from within 50 miles of wherever your facility is. So maybe think about it that way too. I think certainly the third-party tee time providers are encouraging you to support and be on their platforms, but we're not a destination city, and the vast majority of your customers are going to play with you, or they're going to play down the street because they're familiar with the Golf Club of Dallas, or they're familiar with Stevens Park or Keaton Park or Sherrill Park. See, we've got the park theme going here. But so just again, I would encourage you to look at the numbers, like Keith said, and I would encourage you to just do what's best for your business and whoever you report to.
Anybody have any questions for myself or Mark? Okay. Well, we'll take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll get the panel discussion going. Thank you, Mark, for being here.
Playing today, Ronnie? That day you texted me when I had play? Couldn't make it, I just